Well, there's a new poster for the Picard series, and it shows that he has a dog. Want to know what his name is? I know. I'll tell you in a minute. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and we don't usually post pictures on this channel, but since this was a poster that was released by CBS to promote Picard, they show Picard in civilian clothes, wearing boots, standing in his vineyard near barrels, and what looks like a French bulldog next to him. It would be French. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But first of all, there are a couple of things that I want to talk about. I noticed in looking over my comments section that all of a sudden a number of comments that I have not seen before appeared in my comment section under spam. Now, I check those things every few days, and when I see there's something that's spam, usually it's not. I put it on and let it run maybe a day late and answer it and go on. And this particular time, all of a sudden, there are 14 spam messages or suspected spam messages, and some of them go as far as a year away, several of them a matter of months, and the most recent one a couple of days ago. And despite my efforts, it will not transfer back to the regular messages. So I owe apologies to people who have been completely ignored and apparently cut off by me, which was not my intention ever. So to Lock763, Richard Johnson, King Peppy, Big Chewy Gaming, El Grantham's Air, Daniel's Hot Topics, Rick Heil, S. Though, T.M. Martin, and Christy Wren. I apologize. I don't know what happened, and I will continue to try to get your comments, no matter how old they are, put back on. But for some reason, they got caught by YouTube's spam filter, and for some reason won't let me put them back into the regular comments. Don't think that I was doing this not to take advantage of what you had to say. Many of you had very nice things to say, so I really don't understand why any of it went to that folder to begin with. But if I offended anybody by this, please understand that I had no idea that this was going on, and it would not have been my choice to leave you off. Now, back to the dog. Well, let's talk first of all about the new showrunner of Picard, Michael Gambon. And we know him from having written the Calypso episode of Short Treks last season, and he's been on the writing staff of Discovery, but now he is going to be the showrunner for Picard. Now, he's written some of the better shows for Discovery. He certainly wrote one of the best short treks. It was one that has not been used, as far as we can tell, in the current series, or at least not yet. But it was a very interesting one that made you think and made you wonder what part of the future this is and what happens at the end of the Federation and things such as this. So he makes a good showrunner, I think. And they, in an article, mentioned that Patrick Stewart has been giving a great deal of insight into the character that they would not have otherwise had. Now, actors often just read a script and they do their character and couldn't tell you too much about it. But in the case of Patrick Stewart, he is a method actor. When he took on the role of Picard, he became Picard at the time that he was playing the role, and therefore knows this character probably better than anyone else. And in doing so, he has informed the writing staff here, and it's part of the reason that he's agreed to come back as Picard. At one time, he said that he had said everything that he wanted to say as Picard, but when they offered him this, he said that he had to come back, and is delighted to come back, and is delighted to show a side of the character we've never seen before, although he will be very much Picard. Now, we know in the trailer that Picard was disappointed by the situation after he led the biggest armada in history, presumably to rescue the Romulans. We're not sure, but it's likely. We know that this is about 20 years after Nemesis. We know that he was an admiral in Starfleet and now is a civilian and working on his vineyard. We know that after his encounter with the board, his brother and he had a meeting of minds, shall we say, in understanding that Picard needed to be in a place of adventure and not a place of comfort like tending a vineyard. And yet, even in the last episode of The Next Generation, where Q throws him into an alternate future, which we're led to believe that maybe that's not how the future really was going to be. Q had a tendency of doing things and changing them around in order to make the people that he was trying to control squirm. So we can't take the last episode of TNG terribly seriously. Also, the writers in that episode were determined to break every rule that Roddenberry had set. For instance, the Enterprise in that had 3 nacelles, which Roddenberry has always said a starship never has more than 2. And then also flying the Enterprise straight up, where Roddenberry always ruled that the Enterprise should always be horizontal and always be right side up. And it wasn't in that episode. They put Picard and Beverly as having been married, which probably is something that Roddenberry didn't want to happen. And various other things in that episode. They were just putting all the things together that Roddenberry didn't want to happen and making that kind of a faux future for Picard. So we really don't know what his future entails, and therefore it gives a lot of room for the showrunner and the writers to come up with ideas this time, including Patrick Stewart himself. Interesting that he has a dog. Patrick Stewart himself is an animal lover. He is an animal rescuer and particularly likes dogs. So it's kind of nice that he has a French bulldog. Why not a French bulldog? Because Picard is French, even though he speaks with a British accent. He once said in an interview that only a very intelligent Frenchman could speak like an Englishman without any hint of a French accent. So, I said I know the dog's name. It is in the detail of the poster. If you zoom in on the dog's tag, it says number 1. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell so you'll know when the next video comes your way. And until next time, don't go far.